What's up, everybody? My name is OMG WTF LOWBRB, and this is TNA. We are wrestling. Welcome back to more total non-stop action. We are in the 4th week of June of 2002. This is really only our 4th show as we continue building up to the eventual King of the Mountain match, which will decide, I was about to say feature the World Championship, but you can't really feature a championship, which will decide the first ever TNA World Champion. So, let's just get started. We don't got much else to say. We do have a couple of pre-show matchups here tonight. I like to use, of course, since we're a wrestling program, we have to, sometimes have people on the card who aren't wrestling to help further progress some of the storylines around. But since this is TNA, we're a little tight on money, and a lot of people are under, actually not a lot of people, everyone is under a pay-per-appearance contract. I don't like to pay people and not have them wrestle. If they're going to wrestle, I might as well have them, if they're going to be here, I might as well have them wrestle is pretty much where I'm getting at. So, if anyone is in an angle and they don't wrestle, they're most likely going to be on the pre-show. That way I can get my money's worth out of them. Nonetheless, 42 solid D rating, as we have an extremely short pre-show matchup here. King Knight defeats John Phoenix in 1 minute 46 seconds with a spinning heel kick. Queen doing some good work ringside. John Phoenix had an in-ring performance of a 26. King Knight with a 43. Phoenix is just one of the local talents that we borrowed for the night. And of course, King Knight is one of our guys. And then in the main event of the night, 51 D plus rating in a decent pre-show matchup. Super Crazy and Conan defeated Aguila and Julio De Niro, better known as Lucha Underground, if you remember from our previous TNA episode. Aguila, Julio De Niro, and Juventud Guerrera announced that they are now aligned and they will be known as Lucha Underground, but nonetheless, not looking too good for them as they lose their first match as a team, but luckily it's on the pre-show. After 10 minutes and 6 seconds, when Super Crazy defeats Aguila with a crazy bomb. Super Crazy getting better at his gimmick. Unfortunately, Aguila seemed off his game. Conan with an in-ring performance of a 52. Super Crazy with a 56. Julio De Niro with a 49 and Aguila with a 41, the worst of the match. He was off his game, though. Remember that. Super Crazy is improving in his performance as well. All right, we open up the official episode of TNA Impact with a quick recap of last week, showcasing how Jeff Jarrett wanted his shot. Chris Hero was sick of him complaining and whatnot, so that set up the King of the Mountain match between Jarrett and Chris Hero. Of course, Norman Smiley and Jeff Jarrett have had their issues in the past as well. And Norman Smiley ended up costing Jeff Jarrett that match and then announced that Jeff Jarrett is going to get one more shot at the King of the Mountain match, but this time his opponent would be him, and him meaning Norman Smiley. So hyping up that will happen tonight. We will see Jeff Jarrett versus Norman Smiley for a shot at the King of the Mountain, or for a spot in the King of the Mountain match, I should say. We then open up the night with a 55 C- rating as Impact opens with Scotty Mack and Alicia Webb already in the ring. Of course, Scotty Mack and Alicia Webb kind of running a high school sweetheart little angle here is kind of how I go about it. They're young, kayfabe-wise, they've known each other since their days in high school and have been dating, and just kind of something like that, like young love kind of gimmick. Anyway, they're already in the ring when the music of the debuting Ron the Truth Killing plays, and out he comes with the mic in his hand, and he's not rapping. So let's send it there. Ron Killings takes the mic. In case you don't know me, my name is Ron the Truth Killings. And you want to know the truth? The truth is, I ain't happy. This is my first major appearance outside of the WWF. And who does TNA management pair me up against? Who? Maybe one of the top dogs like Shane Douglas or Jeff Jarrett? Or how about an up-and-coming talent like Chris Hero or CM Punk? No. Instead of getting one of those guys, I get Scotty and his girlfriend. And no offense to you, Scotty, but I'm afraid that Scotty doesn't know that he isn't in my league, and I'm going to make you look like a fool tonight. And that's all because management doesn't see me as a star, and that's a damn disgrace. And then Truth throws the microphone down, obviously not too happy, despite, of course, getting a TNA contract here. You know, he feels he's kind of a big league star. He's just coming off of I wouldn't call it a big run, but his words, not mine, a big run in the WWF as well, K-Quick. And now he's here to, trying to make a name for himself, and he feels it's almost impossible if they're going to pair him up against guys like Scotty Mack, insulting Scotty right out there, saying he's not even on his league. It's got to fire up the young star, though, so let's see how that goes. Either way, though, Ron Killings got an average rating on his rapper gimmick. And that starts his storyline as we move on into our next segment here. Opening match of the night, 51 D+ rating. And about that had decent wrestling, but didn't have much in heat. Ron Killings defeats Scotty Mack in 8 minutes, 12 seconds with Truth or Consequences. Alicia Webb did some good work ringside, good for her. Scotty with an in-ring performance of a 34. Ron Killings with a 58. Scotty is improving in his Rumble as well. Good for Scotty making the most of this appearance. We then move on to a 58 C- rating as we send it backstage with a quick little promo from Queen and King Knight. And King Knight doesn't speak, so it's going to be Queen here. Hear ye. Next week you are all cordially invited as your king, King Knight, banishes that Neanderthal Sabu to the dungeons where he belongs. Just look what he did to Sir Adams. Besides, there's no one better to be the king of the mountain than the king himself. Long live the King Knight. And then maybe I should have added something where King Knight kind of just maybe stares into the camera, laughing menacingly or something at the thought of what he's going to do to Sabu next week. And yes, everybody, that confirms that next week on Impact we will have our final match to determine the final competitor inside the King of the Mountain, because I hate odd numbers. I don't like matches with odd numbers. We're not going to have 5 people in the King of the Mountain. We're going to do the generic 6. So we will have one more match next week to determine the final competitor in the King of the Mountain match. Will it be King Knight, or will it be the homicidal, the genocidal, the suicidal, the death-defying Sabu? Anyway, no worker comments for this. Let's just move on to our next segment. 45 solid D rating as we send it back to Bobby. Joining me at this time is Buff Bagwell and China Doll. And then Buff, of course, always the ladies' man. Bobby! How you doing, doll? You look good. Thanks, Buff. Anyway, coming up next, you'll be in action against CM Punk in a King of the Mountain qualifier match. CM who? Look, Buff, I don't think you should take Punk lightly. He's been quite impressive here so far in TNA. Oh, Bobby, I'm not taking B.O. Skunk lightly, okay? Come on, I'm the stuff. There's not a chance I can lose. Unlike that other guy, K-Hog? Whatever. You mean Conan? Didn't you cost him that match last week? I wish I could keep talking, Bobby, but, I've got a big match coming up, okay? I'm facing CM Sucks. Ooh. All right, well, Buff Bagwell obviously taking his opponent very lightly here tonight, not even going to say his name correctly. But interesting enough, when questioned on, of course, him costing Conan the match last week, he seemed to avoid that question. Interesting. Continue the storyline here as we move on to the next segment. 45 solid D rating for this matchup. We have a decent matchup here. CM Punk defeats Buff Bagwell in 13 minutes, 4 seconds after distraction from Conan. Of course, K-Dog want to get his revenge here. We do have a little bit of a distraction from Sonny, though, as well. If you remember from last week, Chris Candido and Sonny had a bit of an interaction with CM Punk, and, well, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but since then, Chris Candido has found himself, well, on the unemployment line. In fact, I think this is as good as any time to bring up the handy-dandy notepad here, because we do have a couple of things here, and since we're talking about Chris Candido, let's just go ahead and do this right now. Chris Candido, earlier today, before, of course, the show started, he was fined for wrestling under the influence. Oh, no, excuse me. This wasn't earlier today. This was last week when he wrestled. He was fined for wrestling under the influence in his match against CM Punk. Of course, when we fined him, neither he nor Sonny were happy about being, or Candido being fined at least. And then before this show, we did a hardline stance to everyone, letting them know, hey, look, this is how it's going to be. If you don't like it, you can walk out. There's the door right there. Chris Candido decided to walk out, so there's that. But we do also have a couple of other things here. Shane Douglas and a couple of other people emailed us. Let's start with Shane Douglas here, who says, Alex Shelley isn't tough enough for the business. We should release the kid and find a real worker. Conan and Chris Sabin particularly got a lot of heat because two people decided to email me about him, and in fact, they're rivals. So it's interesting to see how they agree. But nonetheless, Conan says, Chris Sabin isn't tough enough to make it in this business. Get rid of the kid. And Buff Bagwell says, Chris Sabin has poor ring psychology. The kid is probably not worth keeping around. All right, so we do have a couple of very vocal veterans. Nonetheless, though, speaking of vocal veterans, Buff was not too happy about losing this match. He was very vocal about losing, and I tried to keep him strong. I tried to protect him. He still was not happy about losing then, so I said, well, guess what? If you're not happy about all the protections I'm going to give you, then you get no protections, and you're going to go out there and just lose. So how do you like that? I don't care. Nonetheless, Conan providing the distraction, of course, as we saw last week. Buff Bagwell kind of provided a bit of a distraction against Conan in his match against Kid Cash, which allowed Cash to qualify and Conan to lose. Either way, Buff Bagwell seemed off his game. Of course, I can imagine he's none too happy about losing to Punk here tonight. Chyna did some good work ringside. Good for her. Bagwell's getting better at his gimmick. And CM Punk, did get the crowd hotter. That's good to know. CM Punk had an in-ring performance of a 44. Buff Bagwell with a 49. Gained heat for the disrespectful Punk storyline as well. Yep. I had a feeling that one was going to pop up, but considering Buff Bagwell's in-ring performance, I was thinking, maybe today he was sober. Doesn't look like it. Buff Bagwell was wasted on drugs, and it really affected his performance. Thanks, Buff. Either way, moving on, 47, solid D rating here, as we once again will send it backstage to Bobby. Ladies and gentlemen, Norman Smiley. Mr. Smiley, we all know your connections with management, but despite that, you're still going after the TNA World title, a decision that's sure to draw some criticism. I'm sure it will, and it has drawn some criticism. But first things first, I didn't put myself in this match. Mr. Jarrett put me in this match. And secondly, who doesn't want to be champion? Especially the first. What's that saying everyone says? If you don't want to be the world champion, then you're in the wrong business. So of course I want a title shot. And while I may have my connections to management, I'm far from the matchmaker here. So tonight, when I get in the ring with Double J, not only am I going to take pleasure in shutting him up, but I'll be one step closer to achieving that dream. And that's when we have Ron Killings coming out of nowhere. Well, congratulations to you, Mr. Smiley. I'm so glad you've kissed the white man's ass enough. But he's finally throwing you a bone. That's nice. But where's my bone? Pull up the handy-dandy notepad for this because things are about to get heated and real. Ron, I know you're upset because you feel disrespected. But feel? Okay. For one, let's get one thing clear here. Scotty Mack is one of the up-and-coming talents here in TNA. And even though you look down on him, he gave you a run for your money out there. Second off, everyone here in TNA works their way up the card. So if you want those bigger matches, Ron, then start working towards them, man. Everyone, huh? Is that why you're getting an opportunity at Championship Glory while I'm wrestling Scotty Too Naughty? Guess I'm just not kissing the right ass around here. Come on, Ron, don't be like that. Too late. I'm gonna be like that. Good luck out there, Mr. Smiley. Something tells me you gonna need it. Well, Ron, the Truth Killin's making a big splash here on his first day in TNA. Already voicing his displeasure before he even fights Scotty Mack, and now stepping up to, I don't really know what we can call Norman Smiley. He's not the GM. He's not management. He's just kind of Jerry Jarrett's go-to guy? I don't know what to call him, but obviously Ron Killins is calling him his bitch. Bobby underperformed in this. That's a bit unfortunate, but that's okay as well. We move on to our next segment here. Maybe a in-between commercial break, considering it's back-to-back. I'd like to imagine commercial break. Nonetheless, 28 solid E rating here as we come back from commercial break, and Bobby is standing by with Jay Lethal. Ladies and gentlemen, joining me at this time, Jay Lethal. Jay, you'll be in action against Juventud Guerrera, and last week he claimed that he, along with Aguila and Julio De Niro, run the X Division. Any thoughts on that? Yeah, actually. I take exception to that. That's a horrible Jay Lethal, by the way. The X Division is just getting started here. And TNA... just getting started here in TNA. And for those guys that think that they run the place when it hasn't even yet to be established is a slap in the face to all of us other guys who are looking to build the foundation of this division. Just because Juvi and the rest of Lucha Underground were trained in a Lucha style doesn't mean they run this division. And tonight, I plan on showing Juvi that you can't overlook us, because the X Division has the best talent in any division out there. Thank you, Bobby. Thank you, Jay. Coming up next, all right, Jay Lethal getting a little mic time here tonight as he stands up for the X Division. Of course, as previously mentioned in our pre-show, but we can go a little bit more into depth here. Last week, Juventud Guerrera was in action. I think it was actually six-man action. It was Juvi, Aguila, and Julio De Niro versus Christopher Daniels and the Motor City Machine Guns, also known as Chris Sabin, can speak, and Alex Shelley. After they won their match, Juventud Guerrera took the mic and stated that not only are he, Aguila, and Julio De Niro forming the group now known as Lucha Underground, but they run the X Division, and that Lucha Libre runs in their blood, and that the X Division is no more than Lucha Libre Light, pretty much. And Jay Lethal takes exception to that, and he's looking to prove Juvi wrong here tonight, coming up next. So let's go to that match, shall we? Wow, what a matchup. 59 solid C rating. I know that might seem not much for you guys, but remember, we're not a big-time company, so matches that get C's and even B's and A's, like that's unheard of, B's and A's, but C's, that's good stuff right there. I'm very happy with that. And about that had decent wrestling, but didn't have much weigh in heat. Juventud Guerrera defeats Jay Lethal in 9 minutes, 32 seconds following the 450 splash, with a little bit of interference from Julio De Niro. So, good back and forth contest here. De Niro needed to get involved in order for Juvi, I guess, to pick up the victory here. But because of that, Lucha Underground remains undefeated. Juventud, well, I guess not undefeated. We saw them lose earlier tonight in the pre-show. But they remain dominant. Juventud Guerrera with an in-ring performance of a 67. Jay Lethal with a 37. No worker improvements here as we move on to our next segment. 45 solid D rating here as Super Crazy comes to the aid of Jay Lethal during a Lucha Underground beatdown. So just a quick little freestyle segment here that we can go over and explain. Pretty generic here. Of course, Lucha Underground looking to show showcase their dominance even more. Probably not too happy with what Jay Lethal had to say about them just a few minutes ago. So looking to kind of put him in his place, going to put the beat down on him. Luckily for Jay Lethal, though, Super Crazy was there to run them off. And it seems like one luchador in Super Crazy takes exception to what Lucha Underground is not only claiming, but doing here in TNA. All right, we send it backstage to Bobby once again with a 35E+ rating here. Take it away, Bobby. CM Punk, congratulations on your win. You have punched your ticket into the King of the Mountain match. Is this the part where I can say I'm going to go to Disney World? I'm on top of the world, Bobby. But it's not over yet. All I've got to do is win this King of the Mountain match. Whatever the hell that is. Sunny comes walking up. Oh my gosh, yes! We did it! And she runs in and gives CM Punk a big hug. And where the hell is this going? Punk, of course, wondering the same thing, kind of backs off from Sunny, pushes her away. Whoa! What the hell do you think you're doing? And while you're here, why were you even out there? Well, I did some thinking, actually, about what you said last week, and you were right. Chris has been holding me back. So I dumped him. And now I'm all free. For you. For me. Look, I don't know how you misunderstood me last week, but I said that you were holding Chris back, not the other way around. And I said he should dump you, not the other way around. But since you've got all this free time, go bother someone else. CM Punk walks up, clearly just not wanting anything to do with Sunny Sitch here. But Sunny kind of lingers around here. She looks over at Bobby and says, one way or another, Bobby, that Punk is going to be mine. Interesting. I mean, it did lose heat for the storyline, so that's a bit unfortunate, but Sunny got rid of Chris Candido. I mean, we all know that's not what really happened, but kayfabe-wise, apparently Sunny's not only gotten rid of Chris Candido, but has dumped him. All for CM Punk? Did she not hear what we heard? I don't know, man. Anyway, moving on. We're back from commercial as Jeff Jarrett's music hits as we get ready for our main event of the evening. But before Norman Smiley can come out, Jeff Jarrett takes to the mic. Wow. Very passionate speech you made earlier, Norman. It was so damn good, I almost cried. Makes me just want to lay down and let you live out your boyhood dream. But then I realized it would all be in vain. Because you wouldn't win the damn title anyway, let's face it. Come on, Norman, let's face it. Some of us are just born to be champions, like myself. But most of us are just born to lose to the champions. Much like yourself, Norman. So why don't you just come on out here and do what you do best. Lose. Well, Jeff Jarrett, very confident as he heads into this main event. This got the crowd hotter. No worker improvements. It is main event time, everybody. 56C- rating, and about that had good heat and decent wrestling to it. Jeff Jarrett does it. Did you have any doubt? Jeff Jarrett defeats Norman Smiley in 15 minutes, 59 seconds, but he did have a little help. Ron Killings coming out here, costing Norman Smiley the match. I'd even like to imagine that Norman had the match won, and then Ron Killings comes out with that classic Jeff Jarrett guitar, smashes it over Norman Smiley's head. 1, 2, 3, Double J, Jeff Jarrett is in the King of the Mountain match. Despite all that, though, unfortunately, it does seem like Jeff Jarrett and Norman Smiley don't click. Made for an awkward bout, mostly because of their popularity is why they got this rating. So to me, I'd like to imagine if they didn't have that negative chemistry, we could have had maybe a C+, maybe even a low B. It's kind of a shame, but either way, good stuff. Jeff Jarrett had an in-ring performance of a 57. Norman Smiley with a 43. And gained heat for the Truth Shall Set You Free storyline. No worker improvements here as we end off the show we get ourselves a what? A 56C minus rating, increasing our popularity in 4 regions. Not too bad. That's a pretty good show. I hope you guys have enjoyed this show. If you have, do me a favor. Leave me a comment, like, subscribe if you have not already. And as always, my name has been OMG WTF LLFWBRB. And don't forget to share this video with your friends, your Facebooks, your Twitters, your Instagrams. I don't give a dams. Anybody you feel would enjoy my content, make sure to give it a share and help your homeboys get some new subscribers up in this bitch. And as always, I will see you guys in the next video. So until then, let's pull up the Twilight Zone, and you guys have yourselves a great day.